Yeah. Well, it's funny when you lack experience, you tend to latch onto black and white concepts, and then you attach to any type of experience you've had in the past, as in that's the Bible, that's the way it's going to be. And as all of us know, with the experience, you realize that there is nothing that's black and white; it's all gray, and then you're solely just making any and all adjustments, whether it makes sense or not, based on what is happening with the athlete. Period.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Unwracked podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Berry, and I'm joined by Kyle Wilkes. Today, we have the man, special guest, Chris Tuttle. Chris, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. How are you guys doing?
Can't complain. How about you, Kyle?
Can't complain. I have a wedding coming up, So
We are
Oh, yeah. It's this weekend?
12 days away.
Oh,
12 days, man. 12 days. So time is of the essence here.
Getting any jitters? Any cold feet?
Yeah, I might consider backing out 12 days.
You can't when you see the money you dropped on the thing.
Yeah, that's a sad day.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, it reminds me of a old school. Remember Frank, Will Ferrell? He's like, "Way to think it through." Well, not Frank. His buddy's like, "Way to think it through, Frank. You can walk away now. Go now." And the wife's just looking at him. What?
Anyway, good reference. Today we thought, because we're wrapping up the season, it's, we have the last show of the year coming up in about 4 days, NPC Nationals. We figured we would do a podcast on prep. We'd do probably the last prep podcast of the year, call it Prep Killers, the stuff that ruins bodybuilders' physiques. And there's a lot of different things we're talking about here. We're talking whether it's food related, training related, mentality related. I'm sure we got some anecdotes and some real stories to share. But Chris, you had a good one that you started mentioning when we were talking in pre-production about overthinking.
Yeah, I mean, where can you begin with overthinking? Overthinking does tend to happen more at the back end, right, towards closer to the show. It doesn't tend to happen too much right when you start. But like before we get into like the dangers of overthinking, because that happens, that can destroy everything. You could have the best plan, the best coach, the best gear, the best everything, and overthink will just take everything out the window. I remember Chris Tuttle on a podcast stated, and this is true, I think we've all experienced it either ourselves or with a client, where somebody can get so worked up and stressed and upset that their physique can change in 4 or 5 hours. And then there's not much you can do. Like one of the ones I saw firsthand was one of my clients had a death, and he had to fly out Wednesday before the show and then flew back Friday morning to the show. Okay. And lost his food. Okay. Stressing out, so he just ate canned tuna or whatever, and he gets off the plane, and I see him Friday, and he's like up like 11 pounds. Whoa. And he's freaking out. He's been freaking out the whole time. I'm not going to make it. I look bad. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, stop. Mike, just let's work through everything. What did you have to eat exactly? And he's breaking it all down and telling me there's water intake. I'm like, dude, if you truly telling me the truth, this is just stress related and the flight related. You just gotta relax, dude. Okay. You gotta go for a walk, watch Step Brothers, just detach yourself, get the stress to come down. And, so he started to relax. He's coachable, which is good. And then he's an older guy, master's guy. He started to relax. And I come back about, 5 p.m. and he's already down 4.5 pounds. And he's still drinking water. And he's like, I feel like I'm getting a little better. I'm like, I know, Mike, but you got to continue. Just chill, relax. So I didn't give him much carbs because I don't know how anything's going to work at this point, right? So I think it was like 45 grams of carbs per meal, not a huge substantial carb up. And then I ended up giving him only like a 6.25 of a hydrochlorothiazide, right? The night before. And the next day he wakes up like 11 pounds lighter. He had a good night of sleep, and he woke up and he's dry as a bone, ripped, and he gets second place. But it's like a perfect example of like how physique can change that bad over a period of time from like poor sleep, traveling, bad stress. He didn't cheat. It's like, and we pulled it back together. But most people would melt down because once they see it, they're gone.
Wouldn't you say this is where a good coach comes in handy to be like, oh, dude, it's just stress. If you tell me if you did exactly what you told me and you didn't eat a bunch of shit, you didn't overdo it on anything, then it is just stress. And so you're reaffirming him of that and telling him, I just need you to go sit, watch movies, have fun with your girlfriend, chill out. Like
Yeah.
it's all going to come off tomorrow, and you're going to show up looking the way we want. I'm thinking also of a story, you know, whether it's overthinking or nerves, and I don't know if you guys have something similar, but how many times have you brought an athlete to like a national show, and they've never been to a national show, so they don't know what it looks like, right? And they bring all the athletes in to weigh in, you know, the lightweights, the middleweights, heavyweights, you know, on up. And I had a guy who went into doing his weigh-in, and he stripped down, and everyone's stripping down. And before he went in there, blood sugar was perfect, body weight was where it should be, everything was great. And it was like he came back from that experience like 20 minutes later, watery, really quiet and somber. And we go back to the room, and I'm like, okay, let's check your blood sugar. It's time to eat. And blood sugar was like 111 or something like that, when it had been like 79
Well, it went
at the
up.
time to eat.
It's from stress. Yeah.
Cortisol stress. And I'm like, hey, listen, if we don't relax, there's nothing I can feed you that is going to fix this right now. So we literally need to stay off the Instagram, stay off social media. We just need to focus on what's going on in this hotel room, watching movies, relaxing, put your feet up. And it all worked out. But it's like, I don't know if you guys have seen that, where the weigh-in in particular, I've seen it a few times, is very stressful for some guys.
Dude, they can't pay attention to other people because, one, you don't know whose weight in class is what.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one. And two, like, do you know how many times people backstage, there's the backstage winner? There's always the backstage winner.
Yeah.
You're like, this guy's sucking sick, you know? And then you get on stage, you're like, bro, that guy got fifth? You're like, yeah. It's just like when he posed, he had holes, or nothing happened. Some people just look awesome standing there.
Yeah.
And then some people look like shit standing there, and they pose and they just come alive.
Yeah. I like to think I was that latter group, where definitely wasn't impressive backstage, but then like on stage, like, because I don't think anyone ever counted me as like a major force backstage, but then like posing, I feel like, you know, I never lost a super heavyweight class in the amateurs, you know, and I don't think anyone's like, oh, look at that super, he's fucking massive, you know, because I was usually the lightest super in most of the classes I ever did. But Kyle, you got any stories of like people, you know, holding water after seeing other athletes or anything like that?
I think I mentioned it before, where I always notice when I work with some younger athletes backstage, day of the show, right, to where you almost think you're safe, but then you get to backstage, let's say you're there a couple hours early, and all of a sudden they just have to keep going to the bathroom, right, and nothing's coming out. They just feel like they have to go to the bathroom, or they start sweating, and it's just like, hey man, just like relax. You're looking around, or you look at a mirror, God forbid, you know, backstage, at least a lot of New Jersey shows, because they're in high schools, the lighting is just not conducive. It's not the goon lighting, as they like to say, in terms of makes you look really good, and you look horrible, especially with the tan. Or you'll take check-in photos, like let's just say you're not present at the show and we're sending a check-in photo. The lighting, how often do you get lighting backstage and it's horrible? You're like, hey man, I need you to go outside, get some natural light, because like I can't even assess how you look right now because there's nothing, I can't see anything. The tan's wet. So I think when people look at their pictures sometimes, I try not to let them. Or at least I've learned to say, you know what? I'll take the pictures, or their friend takes it. I'm like, hey, delete them. Don't let the person see, because I know they're going to look at it and they're going to compare it to their peak check-in from peak week or something like that, and then start to get in their head and unravel. Coupled with, as you mentioned, whether it's at weigh-in or backstage, people start seeing others. And I don't know if it's just like a bodybuilding thing, or very rarely do I see someone so confident that they don't care to look at other people. You know, and again, at least I'm not that type of person. I don't know how you were, Chris or Andrew, when you guys competed, but I always look around and I'm just like, damn, they look pretty good. And then you go on stage and perhaps you find out they place behind you and you're just like, I guess I must be a little bit better. So,
You know, I didn't look at anybody, not because I was confident, because I know it would mess with me. So like I learned that once at one show, and then every show after that, I never looked at anybody ever again. In the lineup, in the pump up, I wouldn't look at anybody. I would look at me only, and I would purposely try to avoid anything that could possibly steer my mental state away.
I looked around backstage, but it was more like, to me, it was always like, okay, I already did all the work. There's nothing I can do right now that's going to change it. And I'm not too mental where if someone looks really good next to me, I'm not feeling defeated. I'm not feeling any certain type of way. I'm just like, hey, that guy looks really good. I'll give him a compliment even, or I'll like introduce myself, you know? And I always found like camaraderie backstage kind of broke the ice a little bit and kind of took that edge off. You know, like we all worked our asses off for this thing. Let's go out there and have some fun together. May the better guy win. It's 7 guys' opinions of how we're looking right now. So I never let it bring me down. But okay, so we covered overthinking and letting cortisol come into play. What are some things? And I'm thinking like the starter prep. Like whether it's an athlete's coming to you too fat, or they're not eating enough and they want to do a prep. Because I'm thinking of many times where someone comes back to me after being gone for a while and they're eating like they're 200 and something pounds and they're eating like 2,200 calories. And they're like, okay, I'm ready to get back into this and I want to do the X show that's 18 weeks away. And I'm like, guy, there's not enough time to build your calories up and then strip you back down. Have you guys seen that, or do you have stories about that?
Where do I begin? I mean, I just say no. Like I used to be like, well, it could be possible. It could work.
Yeah.
And then 50% of the time it doesn't. And I just decided 2 years ago, I'm not doing that.
No.
And then I'm just not. I don't want to volunteer myself for that. I have taken quite a few people on this year, 4 weeks out, 5 weeks out from other coaches. And I just did the best I could. And it actually, all of them ended up working out really well. But like, I don't want to do that. I don't like to do that. But in the situation where people are like, want to do a show and they're off and they're like, just came out of prep or they've been yo-yoing. I don't have any to do with that. It's too stressful to try to figure them out, fix them, and get them back. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
It's not the right way.
My problem is, especially like those cases where someone comes to you like 5 weeks out, but looking like 8 weeks out, is I'm like, I like the challenge, I'm like, let's see if we can do this. And, it works out more often than not, but sometimes it doesn't. And, and I explained to him like, hey, we're going to try some stuff, but like, I don't want to be held responsible if this doesn't work out, because we're not miracle workers. It takes as long as it takes to get into shape. Right.
Right.
And
right.
we can fast track it a little bit, and it's probably going to yield a not as great look as it would have if we would have had that more, that longer period of time.
Right.
But if you're hard set on this show, then, I'll give it a go with you. So that's kind of what I'm guilty of sometimes. How about you, Kyle?
I think looking at it, because I feel like we're talking 2 different timelines, right? The pre-prep people, sometimes people they follow a plan when they prep, and then outside of that, they just fuck off, right? And I approach that generally now different than how I used to. Whereas when I was trying to just come up in coaching, I was like, okay, let's see what happens. Why doesn't this work? Okay, I start to figure out the pre-prep phase and making sure your labs are in the right spot. Things like that are all, essential. So now I always have a conversation with people and I say, like, what is the goal here? This is not your first time competing. You want to win a pro card. Then why are you starting in this position? So if you want to win a pro card, it didn't start 12 weeks out from this show. It started 6 months prior to that. So why are you putting yourself in a position where maybe you can get in shape, but you also have to hope nobody else shows up? And if they do, you're going to lose to that person, not because they are physically better than you, but on that given day, they're going to be, because they put in a lot more work than you. So usually when I phrase it that way, people are like, okay, we can shift the timeline. Like, can I give you an extra 12 weeks? And I'm like, okay, now we're getting somewhere, right? But then typically at least when some people switch midway, I never want to take anybody under 4 weeks out. Usually it's very risky, or at least my name's now attributed to that person. So if they don't look great on stage, we all know how it is. We see a bad client. People ask, who was your coach? Who let you get on stage like this, right? So in those situations, I try to avoid potentially putting myself, but I'm always someone that wants to help. So if I can, I'll always have that first consult and I'll say, okay, like, what have you been doing? And sometimes it's like, oh, I feel like we can make some progress for sure. So as long as you're not way behind, generally I get the same people where they were just maybe from a pharmaceutical standpoint, or the cardio was too high, or maybe they had like a lot of T3. Like, there's ways you can kind of jumpstart the process again. And I'm like, okay, I feel comfortable because you're not that far off. But obviously if someone looks 12 weeks out and they're 4 weeks out, hey, this isn't going to happen. Like, we can try, but what's the backup plan?
Or you look at their plan and their plan's actually pretty sound. And you're like, dude, you're just behind.
Yeah.
Like, you don't look at it and be like, oh, you're eating that much food? Oh, okay. Oh, you're doing that little of cardio? Oh, okay. Versus like, you look at it and you're like, this all looks pretty good to me. You just need more time.
Yeah. Like, the worst case, like if you get somebody and they're taking an absurd amount of T3, they're doing a lot of cardio and they're not eating, you kind of just like, I can't fix this in this amount of time. If you're not doing cardio because whether you're lazy, you just weren't programmed to do it, and your calories are in a decent spot, I'm like, okay, this might suck, but we have something we can do. Now we can like play. So that's kind of how
I think of two things there. One, regardless of whether they're just not doing much or they're doing too much, right, already, to me it's like, well, I'm going to look like a genius if this works, but I'm just going to do the opposite. Like if someone's doing 100 mics of T3, 2 hours of cardio a day, 0 carbs, it's like, well, to me, the obvious move is we need to feed you back up a little bit and get the body working. So
there's no other place to go.
I actually like those scenarios where it's cut and dried, where they're either someone comes to you and they're eating 600 grams of carbs still at 4 weeks out, and they're doing like 15 minutes of cardio every other day. I'm like, okay, we just got to push you, or you're doing way too much. It's like, I'm just going to go the opposite of what whoever you were working with is doing. The other thing is situations that I'm seeing more and more lately, honestly, and I don't know about you guys. Coaches just aren't paying attention to their athletes, or they're doing weekly check-ins still at like 6 weeks out, 5 weeks out. And it's like anyone that's a good coach that I know is checking in on their athletes 3 to 5 days, every 3 to 5 days. Let me see what you look like now. Let me see what you look like. Some of these coaches are still doing every other week or just weekly check-ins as they get closer to prep. And it's insane. Like someone's just not paying attention to you. They're not making the changes or refeeding you or pulling cardio or adding cardio when things need to be changed. So to me, when I see that scenario, it's like, oh, I'm going to swoop in and I'm going to make you look good.
Yeah. Yeah. But back to the overthinking thing, like overthinking scenarios in prep where they either think man, I didn't put on as much size as I thought. But it's a big one.
Says everyone.
2, they're looking on Instagram at either pros that they're not even competing against. Dude, Flex Lewis 6 weeks out. I'm not even close to that. Yeah, we know. Or they see somebody else in goon lighting. They're like, bro, that guy's doing my show. Oh my God, I can't beat that guy. And they're like 8 weeks out. And then there's a scenario of like, I haven't had this in a long time because I usually have my guys ahead of schedule. But they're like, you think I'm lean enough? Actually, I had somebody say that they weren't lean enough and they had like striated glutes at 6 weeks out. And I'm like, dude, where are you going to go from here? Just nothing? You're going to go from like a freaking a starved like Ethiopian? You know what I mean? Like, what the heck?
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's bodybuilding. It's not just a conditioning contest. Conditioning's a major factor, but it's not a starvation contest.
No.
All right. So, talking PEDs, what are some things we see? Like, I don't know how. I don't get this very often, but every now and then there's someone that's like, you find out they report what they're taking because you've written it out for them. And then they're like, well, actually, I've actually been taking this much of that, and I've been taking this much of that, like because they thought it would get it, like doubling the clen or doubling the T3 or, doubling the tren. That's a big one, actually. Well, I always used to take 50 to 100 mgs of tren a day. You only had me doing 20, and it's like, well, dude, that's the reason why all of a sudden you're not sleeping, and that's why our fat loss has come to a complete stop. You know, what do you guys see with like PED adjustments that maybe clients or athletes are making on their own? Or here's a big one. Well, my buddy, he was taking this much, and he looked really good for his show, so I figured you'd want me to take this much, too. And it's like...
I had one client do that this year. I don't get that very often, luckily, because I think everybody knows I'm super conservative to begin with, and they might just adjust it to normal. I don't know. or if they are above, and I tell them to adjust their trend because they can't sleep, it's probably less than what they were doing, which might be more than what I said. I don't know. But he did start taking a bunch of orals earlier, and then he's like, dude, I'm having really bad reflux. I'm like, that's weird, out of nowhere. And I'm like, what did you change? He's like, I know. I'm like, and then I start pulling out all what are you adding for spices? What are you adding for seasonings? Okay. Do you have zinc carnosine on hand? Okay. Do you like going through all this list, and then emails me back. He's like, I started taking 100 mgs of Anavar a day. And I'm like, okay, but why? And he's like, well, one of the guys I was my friends with said it was good to add at this point. And I go, listen, I'm a very patient person to a point. Do you want him to coach you, or do you want me to coach you? Because I don't want to, I'm not doing this. And he's like, I'll listen to everything you say. I'm like, okay, pull it out, please. Reflux went away, and then we ended up bringing orals back in like 2 weeks later, and there was never a problem again. But it's like, come on, dude. Come on.
Well, it's like Do you want him to coach you, or do you want a guy that's getting like 4 to 5 pro cards a year to coach you? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. To answer your question though, like one thing that gets me the most is when it comes to like drugs or mistakes is when people are taking a drug or a dose that they think is going to work in theory, meaning like I'm reading about it, this is what it does, so therefore this is what's going to happen if I take it, and they don't look at any of the laundry list of side effects that come with it. So like when people use drugs in preparation that destroy their sleep or digestion, we're going backwards. Like people always say to me, why is this so low? Because you're still sleeping and you have no digestive problems and you look awesome. That's why. And I'm not like the threshold for me is when they start getting those side effects, and that's it. Yeah. But like you're not taking ephedrine, caffeine, and Clen, and DNP, and T3, and Retrutide, and Synephrine, and Slew, and just stack. Like how are natural bodybuilders getting more shredded than some of these guys? And you guys are taking 10 different fat burners. It's like cut me a fucking break.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people depend on what they did in the past, right? And everyone always wants more. It's like the, I don't know, American way of thinking, I'll say, right? To where we're just like, well, if I took this and I look this way, I'll take more. And at some point, again, I always encourage people sometimes where I'll say, you know what, I don't think we need it, but if you want to put it in, we can put it in. And usually what happens, right, they'll get to a point where they're like, they're having some type of side effect, right? Whether it's they're not sleeping, I feel like that's the most common one, or, you know, they're shots because they have nowhere else to put the oil because they're taking so much shit. And I'm just like, okay, so now we want to back it down a little bit. Like, I don't think you got better by doubling your doses this past week, do you? No, I don't think so, coach. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm glad we're on the same page now. I'm glad you got that out of your system. And then the other thing is, again, or at least what I touched on earlier was when people have a prep, regardless of how they do, it's second nature to kind of just like want to be better. So the next time out, you're like, well, instead of 8 weeks out, let me start this at 12 weeks out. And the reality is, the more preps you do, the less time you take to recover, the older you get, the more issues you start to have. So what worked the first time around it shouldn't have worked to begin with. Sometimes when I look at someone's prep and I'm like, I don't know how the hell this worked the first time, I'll be honest with you. You got in shape, but this is why it's not working this time. So I don't really care what you did in the past, because now you're a byproduct of what's going on currently based on past decisions. And moving forward, if you want a different end result, the writing's on the wall here. This is not going to work and end so well. So we have to do something different. And I think, again, I see it a lot with people that are younger because I guess more stories are shared now in terms of what people are taking. And everyone always wants to say the pros have to be taking more. How many times have we seen national level guys take more than the pro athletes, right? So what does that really say? That's not a lie. Don't get me wrong. There are some pros, they abuse things for sure. However, there are many pros that don't take that much. And if you're a national level guy or an amateur and you're taking 10 different fat burners, that's a great example and analogy, Chris. How is a natural guy getting in shape when you're taking everything under the sun and then some?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. When you lack experience, you tend to latch onto black and white concepts. And then you attach to any type of experience you've had in the past, as in that's the Bible. That's the way it's going to be. And as all of us know, with the experience, you realize that there is nothing that's black and white. It's all gray. And then you're solely just making any and all adjustments, whether it makes sense or not, based on what is happening with the athlete, period. Once you can do that, and the athlete can do that, it goes well. The second you keep, well, I did this 3 years ago, or I'm like, this means nothing. Yeah. It means absolutely nothing.
Right.
Kyle, you mentioned younger guys because maybe they're watching YouTube videos from creators, or their stories are being passed around. And Chris, you could probably attest to this, maybe even more than both of us. But I find that like the older population, guys that are 33, 35 plus, like they tend to fall in line pretty good because I think they just grew up in a different generation where like coach knows best, coach lays the foundation, he's got a body of work, I hired him for a reason. They're not talking to their buddies. They're not talking to, some guy on the internet about what to do about PEDs or dosages and whatnot. Have you guys seen like that in that sense of like the older guys seem to, yeah, coach, whatever you say, done.
Can we let's break this down in age brackets though?
Okay.
How young?
Okay, let's say you're
18 to 25, right?
Say it one more time.
18 to 25, that first
And
bracket.
then 25 to 35 and 35 up.
Sure.
that's probably pretty good. Yeah.
You know what's funny? It's like legitimately like the older guys just listen, and then the bingo generation won't fight you, but they give you some information, but they still listen. And the younger guys are just all over the place.
Yes. How
They're
many times
all over the place?
How short are your check-ins and emails responses to your guys that are masters levels competitors? Like a
They're
sentence?
short back. They're short back. Hey,
That's what I'm saying. They don't want to dick around talking to you. Like you're their coach, not their boyfriend, not their girlfriend, not their therapist. Like they're just like, coach says do this at 10 weeks out. This is my meal plan for the week. Thanks, coach. Talk to you next week.
bro,
Right?
you know what's funny you say that? It's because I tend to be pretty wordy in a response, and then my older guys will like answer it, but it's like no, yes, no. I'm like,
Yep.
all right, I need more information than this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
the opposite, it's like they give me all this information that doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I'm like, I got to read through with all this. It doesn't even make sense. You know?
We were talking to another coach last week, and he says some guy sent him like something like this, and he said he copied and pasted it and throws it in Chat GPT and is like summarize, and it gives him like the 4 bullet points. And I'm like, I've never heard of that, but that's actually a good idea because people are telling him like, oh well, I had my girlfriend visiting from out of town last weekend, so we were up an extra hour and a half, and then I missed my meal by 30 minutes, and then that's probably why my blood sugar is high the next morning, right? And then they just kind of go on and on with this run-on sentences of why things aren't going well, and it's like, dude, what are you doing? What are you not doing right? Like, let's get back to the base, okay?
Yeah. No, it's funny you say that. It's like, but it's also weird. And I know it's different generations, so I can't say that. And I know I'm like one of those, I'm like that older guy, not speaking down to the younger generation, but like older guy just not relating is when I was young and I had a coach, I didn't say jack shit. And I did everything to the point. I had a motocross trainer and very young at 11, and he used to maybe do this absurd shit ever on the track. I would be in my helmet like, oh my God, I hope my mom sees this and saves me because I think I'm going to die. But like, I would just do it anyway. And then he would block me from looking at in my parents' direction. And he goes, no, you're going to fucking go out there. You're going to do it again. And I'm like, oh my God. And I would just do it again, do it again. But like, I just listened. I didn't question him. I listened and it worked. And every single coach I worked with, I listened and it did work. Yeah. So it's like, I understand there's a bad point where people are like, well, you can't just follow everything blindly. I get it. But like when I'm paying somebody for their expertise, I'm going to do everything and stay in my own lane. I've never once in my life taken my plan and been like, hey, Andrew, what do you think of this? I've never done that with anybody ever.
Yeah.
But I just followed it. Like I'm not, that means you're not putting all your effort into what you need to be doing. You're just not.
It's one thing to ask a coach, like follow up, like, hey, I'm trying to think of an example. Like, okay, so like maybe coaches like start you on like maybe like 3 or 4 very, very low carb days. Hey, coach, just wondering, like, is this a low push we're doing right now? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Am I going to get a refeed or whatever? Like what's the plan right now? Are we doing like a cycle kind of thing? Are we? There's nothing wrong with that to come up with. And honestly, as a coach, sometimes the answer is like, I don't know yet. Like I want to see what happens, and we're going to go from there because it's all about reading and reacting, right?
Yep.
But I don't mind questions like that. But like you said, when people are sending these long emails that with information that doesn't pertain to our prep and our plan, it's like we're kind of getting out of bounds here, and we're not focusing on the right things. It's like, let's go back to base, follow the diet, follow the training, follow the cardio, follow the PEDs, and you're going to be just fine. I got one. Do you guys have any experience with people using SEO when you told them not to?
No, I had people tell me they wanted to use it, what I thought of it, and I thought it wasn't bodybuilding. I don't know anything about it. I don't condone it. I don't do it. And he's like, do you mind if I try it? And I'm like, okay. But if it looks dumb or you start getting weird stuff, like I'm going to tell you to stop doing it. You know what I mean? And it ended up looking dumb. So
I had a situation where it looked dumb.
Yeah.
Like obvious. It's like those aren't biceps. That's oil, man. And if anyone knows anything about like judges like Steve sees that and he immediately puts you off to the side. Like We saw a guy at the New England's a couple years ago. He was the biggest guy on stage, but his delts were just obviously so loaded, and his arms so loaded with SEO. Steve, by number, he was like,
I know what you're talking about. I know who you're talking
he was
about.
like yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Because he used to compete back in the day in the New England area.
Yep.
He's Jose's friend, right? And he's like, number 27 off to the side. Like, he just said it just like that. Like, you're getting last place. I don't care how you look from the back. Like, you're getting last place. So I'm not saying SEO can't be done tastefully and can't be done the right way, but we shouldn't be able to tell. You know what I mean? Like the guy, like I hear stories about Flex Wheeler used to have people do like his back injections with very minute amounts of SEO before show, and no one could ever tell. His back looked amazing, you know. But I told a guy in particular, and his posing coach also brought it up to him, and I said, dude, you're 10 weeks out from the show now. No more of that stuff, okay? Like, it's very blatantly obvious they're going to mark you down, and I think he did keep doing it, and I believe that's what cost him. Not like a first place or anything, but he was pushed to the second call out at a national level show because of that. So, you know. Okay. So
I could think of a lot if you're waiting for more.
yeah, go spit.
So, you know, the overthinking part of expectations or rate of change, and you know, comparison can be very dangerous, because as we all know that when we're coming down in body fat, right? We will always look at where the last part of the body fat is going to come off in our body, right? I might carry more in my lower back, therefore I'm fixated on that. But my legs are shredded 12 weeks out. Where you get another guy whose glutes come in at 10 weeks out, but they still have a little jiggly in their belly, right? So those people are always hyper focused on that bad area. And they'd be like, oh my God, dude, I'm 8 weeks out. Like, when's this going to go away? Or I love this. They pull on the side, like, when's this going to go away right here? When's this? I'm like, bro, what? You're shredded to the bone and everywhere, and you picking off this much skin on the side. Like, stop. Don't pay attention to stuff like that. And like when people are paying attention to nitpicking things that don't matter, and they're hyper focusing on, like, they want to have this level of skin everywhere on their entire body. That's never going to happen. It's never going to happen.
Would you say then the issue is patience?
I just think they're just overthinking things and nitpicking stuff that doesn't matter, right? You think about, right? As a coach, we look at somebody get ready and say, for example, man, their little wrinkle on that bottom glute's a little weird, and you start to bring them down a little further, and their upper body gets wicked flat, and you're like, shit, this is as far as I can go.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's just like, I'm not going to ruin their entire body just to get that last wrinkle to go away in their butt cheek because they used to be overweight when they were younger. You know what I'm saying? It's just
So
like
getting athletes to understand that there's a best look for them
Correct.
on stage, and
Correct.
it's not necessarily, in one sense, peeled all over or full as a house in other situations. There's a best look for you. There's a happy medium. You can't be completely dry. You can't be completely full all at the same time. So we've got to
and
find
they
the
will
right-
find somebody online to compare to. They'll be like, I want to have glutes like that guy.
Yeah.
And I go flat out, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's never going to happen. I go, the top 10 Mr. Olympia guys don't have glutes like that.
Yeah.
That guy's just abnormal.
Yeah, that's a genetic strength.
We all see those people online who just randomly, oddly shredded in one body part and detailed, but we don't never know who they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at this guy from wherever. You know,
because they don't place well, because they have that one freak body part that they take a million Instagram photos of, and everyone's talking about that guy's glutes, but they get on stage and they get lost in the crowd because the forest for the trees just isn't being seen. Like, they're not, they're not complete.
It's the whole picture. It's the whole picture.
Then would you say it's also, as bodybuilders, dual edge, hyper fixating on both their strengths and their overall weaknesses, right? Because the guy who has awesome legs loves training legs, right? Or the guy with like an awesome set of shoulders is always wearing a tank top in the gym, whether it could be 20 degrees outside and no heat in the gym, and he's wearing a tank top. You know what I mean? Or on the other end of the spectrum, like the example you pointed out, that little bit of fat that's just sitting right there in that one area when everything else is completely fat free.
I get more guys that do this. Say what you just said. Their legs are amazing.
Yeah.
But they're self-conscious about their bicep.
Yeah.
He's had a bicep injury. And I'm like, bro, your legs and your back are nasty. I know, dude, but like my bicep really sucks though.
Yeah.
Like they're like I've never heard anybody go, hey man, ooh, that bicep's pretty bad. Yeah, dude, but look at my legs though. Look at my legs though. It's gonna be way better. Like bodybuilders are usually always criticizing themselves. Usually.
Well, even as fans too, when we're sitting there, we're not like if it's a body part like the bicep. If someone's got a freaky friggin' back and hamstring, their back shot is crazy. We're not sitting there being like, but those biceps though, like it ruins the whole shot. Rarely does it ruin the whole shot. That you'd have to have like your bicep muscles removed from your body for it to ruin an amazing back, glute, hamstring shot. You know.
Case in point, I had a client just compete this weekend, and he won the Masters, and he was very fixated on his bicep because he had a bicep injury a long time ago. I've never noticed it in my life. I mean, I'm not rephrase. I've never noticed his bicep that he's talking about this entire prep. When he's doing front double biceps, I keep looking at his posing. I'm like, dude, you pop your lats out, pull the floor apart with your legs, pull the floor apart with your legs. He's like, that bicep's driving me nuts. I'm like, what? I'm not even looking at that. I don't even notice that. But they know it, so therefore they hyper focus on it.
On that same line of thinking, I always find it's guys that don't have like visible gyno in any sense that are like, what are we going to do about this? Like, you know, my shots, my gyno, and you're like, you blow the picture up, you change the contrast. You're like, dude, I don't see it. But then you got other guys
who got tits and
and you're like, dude, I really think we need to do surgery before you get on stage again. Like if you want to place higher, we need to do surgery. Like, well, I don't really notice it. What do you mean? You know? It's like, bro, like I'd rather fondle yours than my wife's. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, check my most muscular. Don't do that shot. Don't do that
shot. Dude. Yeah.
What do you got, Kyle? Come on, that had to have struck something.
I think so we've been talking a lot of things, I guess, a little biasly, right? We've been pointing out the athletes' wrongdoings. I think one thing the coaches could do wrong is too many changes at once and sometimes too late, right? Yeah. And what I mean by that is I always look at someone's base plan, right? We start them at whatever week's out. And maybe you have the first change is a drop in food, right? So nutritionally, we make a change. Cool. Maybe the next change, so it's like variable 1. Variable 2, maybe cardio. Maybe they weren't doing any cardio. So here you go, fatty. Start doing some cardio, okay? Variable 3, you have the drugs, right? Many times I see someone have pre-planned drugs, which is horrible, first and foremost, right? That's not needed. We can kind of go on a whole tangent about that. But just because you're 6 weeks out doesn't mean all of a sudden, hey, we need to drop food, up cardio, and put in fat burners. Like, why would we try one thing, see how it goes, and then make another adjustment and kind of go from there, right? I think as coaches, sometimes or not to say we specifically, but maybe in the past experiences or I'll notice other coaches kind of like drop the hammer across the board. And then where do you go from there? That's how you end up with clients that come to us 4 weeks out with boatload of T3, a lot of cardio, no food. It's just like, how did you get here and you're still fat? That you did something wrong along the way, you know?
John Meadows, one of the best things he told me 15 years ago, he was like, always save a card in your back pocket to play for later. You know what I mean? And what he was saying was, try one thing at a time. You can always add cardio later. You know, make a diet change. You can always add cardio. You can always add a little bit of T3, but make one change at a time. See if it's doing something. You know, and I thought that was pretty valuable advice to try to get away from those situations where you're doing 3 or 4 changes at once, and now you don't know, is anything working? Did nothing work? Am I doing too much? And now I'm driving them into the ground. I mean, we could do a whole episode on coaching issues. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I mentioned coaches not checking in with their athletes or not responding to check-ins, which in 2025, if you have a coach that's not responding to you, fire your freaking coach.
Dude, that still happens a lot.
Dude, I hear a story every day at the gym. Oh, he hasn't gotten back to me in 2 weeks. And it's like,
what?
And you're still paying him? Like, what are you doing, dude?
Well, I think sometimes people pay up front and then they're stuck, or they feel like there's a lot of coaches that have built a great name because maybe they work with bigger athletes and somebody's like a peep squirt. They feel like they don't have a following, they don't have a voice. And it's unfortunately kind of true sometimes, right? How many times do we see people post their success stories and then you're like, what about the other 98 clients you had? They all sucked. Like, you're just posting this one that did really well, but I know you had other ones and they didn't do so hot because I've seen them. I think sometimes people are afraid to speak up. Or I had somebody recently that came from a decent coach, at least from what I see, a decent coach in terms of what they're posting. And the guy didn't answer him for over 4 weeks. And I'm just like, hey, like, how come you didn't say anything? He's just like, it's not worth it. Like, I paid him for 6 months. And I'm just like, I don't care how much money you have. say something, or I will for you if you want,
Yeah.
because it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
But the changing thing is a big one. Like, that's such an amateur mistake as a coach to sit there and change 10 different things. Like, you know, it's small, minute changes, and especially if something's very hypersensitive and you're trying to figure out a cause and effect. And my favorite one is always like, say if I project to somebody when a particular compound's going to start, and then I just also coincidentally happen to have to refeed them around that time, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to start this?" No, we're going to wait till after I finish watching your body's response here first before I throw these variables. Then I'm not going to know what happened. Because I've had this situation before this year where somebody started Winstrol and their body weight shot up 7 pounds. So I'm looking at him and I'm like, bro, what's going on? And he's like, dude, I'm following the diet 100%. And I'm like, okay. Am I looking back at everything? And I'm like, okay, so I see you started Winstrol. He's like, yeah, I started Winstrol. I'm like, what brand is that? I'm trying to like figure it out. I'm like, just do me a favor. Just drop it out. All right, just drop it out. He's like, oh, Winstrol doesn't make you hold water though. Just drop it out. Just drop it out. 40 hours later, the water comes down like a couple pounds, and then like another 2 days, it comes down all the way. And I'm like, well, whatever that was, I don't know what it was, but we're not taking it. Okay? We're just moving on. But that's the case in point when you try and change 2 variables, especially if you're trying to see what the variable is going to do, and you change a couple of things with it, because now you really don't really know the full scope of what that was going to change, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about cardio? How many times in, you know, some, like I know Kyle and I have the luxury of, well, you can consider it a luxury or you can consider it a penance, but a lot of our clients are in our gyms that we go to, and I say luxury because you can keep an eye on them, but I say penance because when you're just trying to train and they're like, oh, coach, about my plan the other day, you're like, not right now, man, this is my time. I don't know how many athletes that you coach go to your gym, Chris, but it's like
None.
yes. I knew you say that. See, the fact that he's smiling so big when he says that, it's because he's still a bodybuilder. It's his time, that hour and a half, to go in and bang the weights because he's a true bodybuilder and he just wants to focus on himself for that 1 hour and a half. But anyway, how many times do you walk in and you see an athlete? Because I've seen, years ago, I saw one of my clients and I had him doing cardio at like a heart rate of 130 to 135. And I walk in and he's on the treadmill and it had to have been like 1.5 or less, okay? And the incline was like nothing. And I'm like, well, I almost said his name. I'm like, what are you doing? You warming up? And he's like, no, dude, I just trained. I'm doing my cardio. And I'm like, dude, my dog walks faster than this. Like, what are you talking about? You're doing cardio. And for anyone, my dog is a little dachshund. Okay. So his legs are, you know, this long. And I'm like, dude, this isn't cardio. This is like recovery, cool down, warm up, or whatever you want to call it. So do you guys see, and I think it's opposite with females. Females will bust ass on cardio. But males tend to try to get away with doing the least amount of effort possible. Oh, my heart rate hit 135 for about 30 seconds during my cardio, you know? And then they just like, they're hanging over a machine. They're holding on for dear life. Do you guys see that with some of the guys doing cardio?
I used to, but I have a tactic to get around that.
What's that? Share.
One is I start them on the stepper.
Yep.
And I say level 8 or 9.
Oh, okay.
And then when they do it, they go, bro, that's really hard. I'm like, okay, you can stop doing the stepper now. But you know the exertion level you just did? Whatever you end up choosing, that's the exertion level you have to run. Now, if you are not going to give the same exertion level, you're going to end up doing a lot more cardio than you have to. Do you understand? And if we get ahead, I can remove cardio. And they go,
I like that.
Oh. But like, that's a good precedent. I got that.
Yeah.
Like, because you think about it, like, what's the heart rate? Don't worry, just do level 8, do level 9.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. There's only one time that backfired on me. The guy, and he was a general weight loss guy, and I forgot that he was just an athletic machine. And he goes, level 8. I go, yeah. He goes, I warm up with that. I go, really? He's like, yeah, I do. He goes, bro, I can do level 20 for 20 minutes straight. What? He goes, my heart rate's 150. And I'm like, Jesus. Okay. I go, you are an aerobic machine.
Yeah. Has he climbed Mount Everest? I mean, Jesus.
He used to do marathons, and he was like a taller guy, so the step wasn't as big. But like still level 20 for 20 minutes, and that's just like a good pace.
That's crazy. Man, that's wild. Yeah.
I think attacking cardio is like I don't want to say a hidden gem, but it kind of is. A lot of people, I think steps have become so popular because people don't actually do cardio. So their cardio they were doing is so low impact that steps can replace it because you're not fucking doing anything, right? So I think, again, to be active, I encourage people, if we just sit at the desk all day, yes, walk your dog, get some steps outside, enjoy some sunshine if you have it, unlike where I am now. But if you attack your cardio, that's like a different beast. You know, when you're on the stepper, I always like the stepper doing intervals because not only did I feel more accomplished, you get better results for sure. And you can get pretty fucking good at cardio. Like when you mentioned level 8 for someone that doesn't do the stepper, there's no shot in hell they're lasting 10 minutes on level 8. No way. So when I put that in sometimes, what I notice, I can tell right away the type of client I'm dealing with because they won't complain. And I'm like, there's no fucking way you're doing this. You can't be.
Yeah.
So now send me a picture. Now every day for a week, you're sending me a picture of your cardio equipment because clearly you weren't doing it. So that's kind of how I like to use it. So I'm really glad that you brought that up because that brings back some fond memories of.
That's a good point. That's a good point. It's like they haven't complained. You're like,
Weird.
Speaking of a threshold test, which I always think is a good way. So I use this a lot with my clients to try to tell them like how to gain mind muscle connection, right? And they're like, dude, like, you know, I'm like, bro, you're lifting too heavy. You're short range of motion. Like you're just lifting, you're just moving weight without thought. I go, I want you to do me a favor. What do you do for 10 reps for your 10 rep max? And they'll be like, I do 125s. I'm like, okay, I want you to grab 100s and I want you to fail by 10 reps. And if you're able to do more than 10 reps with a 100-pound dumbbell, you have failed the exercise. And at first they go, I just told you I could do 125 for 10 reps. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. If your life depended on it, you have to make that 100 pounds as difficult as possible and fail by 10 reps or before. And then when they do it, they go, holy fucking mother of God. They go, my chest hurt so bad. It was on fire. I get what you're saying. I'm like, okay. Now go back to the 110s, maybe 115s, and be in between, okay? And move the weight with the muscle. Stop just going, you know what I mean? Like, stop, you know, because it's not working. There's one thing I always try to explain to people, and which is so frustrating, is I see dudes at my gym all the time doing 150-pound dumbbells. Jay Cutler was using 140s on incline, and he's 285, Mr. Olympia, and you are some Joe Blow schmo at the gym using half reps with the butt arch off the back with no chest at all. It's got to scratch your head to be like, wait a minute, why isn't my chest growing? It's not just chemicals, because you're not training properly.
Mm-hmm. I think I actually send, and I don't say you need to be this strict, but I send a lot of people to like Nick Walker's page for some of his training.
Same.
Because he is hyper controlled. I mean, I would say it might be a little bit more than what the average person needs, because I do think there needs to be a little oomph. There needs to be a little, I don't know what you call it.
Acceleration of weight. Right?
Yeah, you know. And I'm not saying what he's doing obviously has worked for him. You know, it's obviously, but he did lift some heavy weights with a little more acceleration, oomph, a little more drive in early parts of his career. And now he's doing what's working for him. But I do send him, I'm like, hey, I want you to perform reps like he's doing in this video. And they're like, oh, dude, I had to cut my weights by 45%. It's like, okay, so let's start there. Let's add 5 or 10 pounds, and let's maybe meet in the middle a little bit and keep, this is your new set point for the form that you need to use for the muscles we're trying to activate. Now we start progressing from there. And they usually kind of rings a bell in their head. So, yeah. All right.
Dude,
well,
real quick to end that. It's like,
no, please.
And this is what I say about heavy weight. Lifting heavy weight's fun. I've done some dumb shit in my life. I lifted some heavy weight in my life. But like, I'm telling you right now, like looking back, none of it was worth it because I have permanent wear and tear on my body now, which I can't do a lot of things physically I feel like a 40-year-old should be able to do because of what I did to my body. Mm-hmm. And how many people or really good bodybuilders, their career ended from a catastrophic injury. So when people volunteer themselves to lift abnormally heavy with very poor, unsafe form, it scratches my head, and I just can't think about, like, is there a lack of intelligence here, or they really don't care, or they just love training like that? Because at the end of the day, a lot of those people that end up sustaining injuries who are amateurs, their life is over. I can't lift anymore. I can't believe it. But bro, was that all worth it? Trying to bench 495 for 1 rep, was that worth it? It wasn't worth it, because those guys haven't been injured. They don't get it. And I'm sure I wouldn't have listened either when I was younger. But like, fuck, man. Like, if I had to go back and someone's like, hey, dude, you could train hard as fuck, get way bigger, and being way less aches and pains and still be able to like function when you're in your 40s, man, I would do that again.
It reminds me of, we had Jay Cutler on about 10 or 12 days ago, and he could have lifted heavier than he did, but he knew he wanted to be functional at 50, 60. He knew he didn't want to have torn muscles. He knew he wanted to, and it worked for what he was doing. He built one of the greatest physiques of all time, lifting heavy, but like not in that upper threshold of taking risks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I say that because I have a client that messaged me the other day, and he's, I don't think he was doing anything stupid in particular, but he tore pec. And we all know, like, the uphill battle of coming back after a real pec tear is very, very hard, depending on the speed of how you get it reattached and the surgeon you pick. I mean, those are the things, like speed and who's the surgeon, and does the surgeon understand that you still want it to aesthetically look good. So I'm encouraging him. I'm like, dude, get that MRI done and get scheduled for surgery ASAP if you want to have a career in this league, because it's going to be an uphill battle even with it. So
being physically unable to do something is the fucking worst.
Yeah.
My hamstring tear, bro, like my hamstring's fucked for the rest of my life. I can't run for the rest of my life. And that's for motocross, but like still, like it's permanently fucked. Like I can't do anything about it.
What would you run for?
It's funny. I had somebody else say that to me too. I'm like, I can't run. I can't fucking jump over a fence. He's like, you running from the police? Why are you jumping over the fence? I'm like, it's just the fact that I can't do it. Like you know what I mean? Like I can't be physical. Like I can't be explosive. I don't like that I can't do that.
Yeah. I would say if there's a muscle you had to tear, I would probably pick hamstring over almost any other in terms of bodybuilding. Because normally when someone tears a hamstring, it just looks gnarlier from the back. Like
I'll tear a calf.
Okay, calf too. Okay, yeah. But I'm saying though, like bicep, like oh shit, pec. If it doesn't recover properly, you're fucked. Tricep.
But think about this though. The hamstring touches the hip, so you can get imbalances in your hip from the torn hamstring too.
I'm saying from a visual standpoint.
Oh, okay.
But like on stage, because I've got a guy that tore his hamstrings, both of them, and they fucking look gnarly when he's peeled. Like there's detail on detail in there, just like muscles all. You know what I'm saying? It almost
like scar tissued up.
Dude, it looks, and we get him. He's like a old school military white guy. Like, tell me what to do, Sarge, and I'm on it. Like we get him friggin' peeled, and it just looks crazy nasty. But man,
I don't want to get injured. Fuck that. Peak week stuff. Peak week. Doing things that are too extreme. I mean, like I'm very lucky. I pre-prep a lot of my clients now. I made mistakes in the past where clients will like think of all these crazy things they're going to change in the last 7 days. And now my guys understand that like, that's not going to happen. And 7 days out, I explain to them things that they're not going to do. You're not going to the beach a week out. You're not going to go get sunburnt. You're not going to do anything out of that, or you're not going camping. You're not doing anything weird things that you wouldn't normally be doing through prep. All right. You're going to be stopping training at this day. You're not going to be breaking records in the gym. You're not going to go to a new tanning booth. Like all these things that people have done in the past and fuck themselves up. And like, you got to be as consistent and as humanly possible. Then 24 hours later, can I add this into my water? No. You hear what I said. If you haven't been doing it, you're not doing it. Be consistent. And then every day is going to be, all the change will be based on what I see each day. And we're going to methodically roll into the show. And it's going to be calm. And then I always say to them, like, listen, the one thing about peak week that I can't control is your mind. If your stress ball, your anxiety, or you're not planning ahead, meaning you waited the last minute to book your plane ticket, or you're waiting the last minute to drive 8 hours the day before a show in traffic, or all these other things that can go wrong, or you're relying on your wife to prepare your food and pack your stuff, that's a no. You're packing your own shit. So you know if everything's there, you're not going to rely on anybody else. Everything needs to be in line. You need to be prepared ahead. You need to be stress-free. You need to control your anxiety, because I can't control that. And you can fuck up your entire prep by those last 3 days of doing that. Because I've had guys do that. We're like, hey, bro, what time are you leaving? Oh, I actually have a 9-hour drive. What? No, you're not driving Friday 9 hours. You're driving Friday you're driving 9 hours on Thursday. And you're going to take a break in the middle and you can go for a walk. Or people be like, well, I was late working, late leaving, so now I'm in traffic. I'm going to miss check-ins on Friday. Like, why? This is a dumb problem to have. This is dumb. You do all this dieting, and now you're late to check-ins, and then now you're gonna miss your tanning. Your tanning's at night. Now you're stressed out. I don't get pictures until fucking God knows when. You know what I'm saying? Like you forgot your scale. These are all dumb problems to have that are very, very preventable. Very preventable.
Every weekend, everyone forgets a scale, whether it's a weight scale or a food scale. Every weekend.
And the hardest part about being a coach when someone does that, you can't get mad yet.
No.
I wait till after. I go, no problem, dude. We're going to skate around it. No problem. Let's give me pictures. Let's do this. And then on Sunday, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yep. It's like have your bag packed Wednesday night, and then double check it Thursday morning.
Yep.
And then go. You know, it's as simple as that. I had a guy 4 years ago at Universe, and he showed up, and I happened to bump into him. Actually, I think I just talked to you at the Universe, Chris, and then I ran into him, and he's like, "Dude, we got a problem." I'm like, "What? You're here? What's going on?" You know, we got 2 days or 3 days, whatever. He pulls up his shirt. He looks like a lobster. He decided to go tanning at a new tanning salon, like you just mentioned, the night before. And when I say like he was about as red as like your shirt, basically. Like like boils were almost happening. And I'm like, oh yeah, like it'll be fine. You got 2 days. The skin's gonna calm down. It's not a big deal.
Oh,
meanwhile, you can just see him holding water. You can just see the water collecting under the skin.
And the tan's not gonna fit either.
Dude, he didn't get on stage. Like there's no way we could have corrected that. Like trying to throw a tan on that, it would have looked like a bowl of mush. It just wouldn't have. You know what I mean? So it's like you put in 18 to 20 weeks into this thing, only to show up and mess up in the last 2 days with something like, dude, we don't need to throw a tan on you. Like we don't need to go to the tanning salon 3 days out. Like if you're tanning, by the way, anyone listening, stop tanning like 8 to 10 days out.
Agreed.
You want to make sure your skin is healthy.
Agreed.
But you want to make sure it's hydrated. You do not go tanning the final week before a show. That's one great way to mess up your tan and mess up your prep.
Agreed. But yeah, dude, you guys add to that, but I'm sure you guys have the same experiences before with people. It's just like, dude, I go over my clients' training travel plans a lot now, a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to nationals? When are you coming there? Oh, I decided to fly in Thursday morning. No, you're not.
Yeah. Check-ins are that night or that afternoon.
Yeah. No, you're not. What time are you? I'm going to fly in Wednesday night late, red eye. No, you're not. No, you're not. I'm going to take a double flight. It's going to take me all day to get there. No, you're not. You're going to pay the extra money and do direct flight.
Isn't it funny how people will scoff at like the $200 flight fee, right? When it's like, dude, you just spent like $3,000 or $4,000 on this prep over the last 20 weeks between the PDs, the food, the train, me, all the different things, and you're worried about a $200 extra flight? Like, dude, get yourself the extra room on the flight. Get there 2 days early. Like, to me, it's a no-brainer at this point, right? Like, I don't understand, you know?
Kyle, you have anything to add to that?
To that, no. The one thing that irks me, I'll see it sometimes, is whether I see it through YouTube videos or I'll see if I'm in person, how they weigh their food out. Do you ever have people that, let's just say, I don't know, you're giving them 170 grams of lean protein, right? And they put on the scale and they just say 165, 174, and they're like, okay, it's good. What the fuck's the point of weighing it? Like, just you have it on the scale, just fix it. Like, what the? It bothers the shit out of me. But again, you can't freak out at the time because it's like you've been doing this the whole time. Like, oh man, like, well, I wonder what else you do this with. How you do one thing?
Yeah, like fats. Like fats. Are you measuring fats that off?
Are you just taking that peanut butter? Yeah.
5 to 10 grams of fat difference, like weight wise. That's the bigger difference than protein. Like,
it's crazy.
What are we
and
doing?
Then another thing is, I had people competing recently. Depending on your response, or if they let's just say they're checking in and they don't provide a lot of detail. So you ask a question like, hey, did you follow everything yesterday? Yeah, why? Does it look like I didn't? I'm just asking a fucking question, man. That's all.
Yeah.
Like, you stop going in your head, but you can tell that type of person, like, okay, this person's on edge. They're someone that's probably going to be a ball of anxiety going into the final week, and I just have to be mindful of how I ask things. Or if any, like Andrew touched on earlier, I don't mind questions, Chris. I think you encourage questions as well. But at some point, like during peak week especially, don't ask why. Just do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Write it down. I'll be happy to discuss it with you after. But why are we like being so meticulous now? Especially if you weren't this way the whole prep, why are you questioning? It's almost like, are you questioning? And you have like 10 other people in your ear. So that kind of stuff is a sure way to not only like make me start double thinking almost, but to kind of just make communication a little weird. And then if you don't communicate very well, now you start to have a problem with the end result.
Yeah, communication's a tough one because everybody has different ways of communicating, and you know, like you learn your clients, but like, I have a difficult time with sometimes clients when I will make a change, and they go, okay, so 500 mLs of water with meals, and I'm like, wait a minute, I just changed that. I thought I just changed that, and then like I have to go look again real quick, and I'm like, it is 500. Yeah, it's 500, or like I'll write 500 and they say a different number. I'm like, you know, you're confusing me, like you know what I'm saying? Like I get that sometimes, and that gets me because now I'm like, or am I taking a diuretic? I'm like, I wrote the instructions on there. Didn't I write the instructions on there? Now I'm like pulling back up again. I'm like, yeah, it's right there. I'm like, God, you're really confusing me. Like if you want to jump on a phone call, we'll go through it like quick. But like these short first blast questions, like every couple minutes, you're making me nervous. You know what I'm saying? Like you're making me nervous because that was on your plan for 48 hours, and you're just asking me now, which makes me, did you just notice it now? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That will makes you second guess. Did I send you the right plan? Did I cover everything? Because I don't know about you guys, but like I do it all and I look it over like 2 or 3 times, and then I copy and paste it and send. Right? Like it's like that. And what was the other example I was just thinking of? Big one for me is like because I do everything in grams and mLs, like
Me
half a
too.
liter, 500 mLs, 250 mLs of water, whatever, And they're like, "Oh, I just drank my Stanley," and I'm like what Kyle's got right there. What Kyle's got, like, and I'm like, "Okay, well, how much water have you had so far?" And they're like, 3 Stanleys, and I'm like,
The fuck does that mean?
I don't even know what the hell that is. Okay, like the Stanley Cup, like you were drinking out of the Stanley. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, remember your plan? We've been talking mLs, grams, etc. all the way through. Switch to my system because I've got 20 people today that I'm using this system with. So make it easy for me, and let's stick to mLs, and you do the math real quick and figure it out for me. Because the worst thing is when you're like trying to get back to 3 or 4 people, because everyone always checks in right at the same times, right? And you're trying to get back real quick, and I drink 4 ounces of water, like you said, and I'm like, I've never told anyone to drink an ounce of water. So what are you talking about? And they're like, well, how much is that in mLs? And it's like, God gave us all the equal opportunity to have these little hand computers right here. Like, can you maybe look that up real quick and then make sure you're doing the right thing? It's like, I'm not going to convert the ounces to mLs for you,
Or just follow the mLs. Just learn mLs. Just learn it. It's just easier.
Shaker cups have them all along the side.
Yeah, it's just easier. Yeah, and 1 ml weighs 1 gram. It's just easy. It's easy to run it that way.
You could literally put it on your food scale and measure it out.
Yeah,
Exactly.
dude. At the end of the day, like I just think to sum it up quick, it's like preparation mistakes, not having enough time to get lean, changing the drugs without your coach knowing, comparing yourself to other people that are really out of your league, or you're not even, or really to general at all, anybody, because you're progressing at your rate and your coach has a plan for your rate of change and who you are and where you are. So you should be staying in your own lane, not overthinking, emphasizing good sleep, managing stress, fatigue, communicating with your coach, consistently, making sure you're checking in on time, and peak week, make sure you plan way ahead, making sure everything's all in order, like everything in order. Dude, I used to be so paranoid. I remember for nationals, I called the airport like twice. I go, hey, I'm traveling with food. Is this going to be a problem? And they're like, oh, no, you can travel with food. I'm like, who am I speaking with? Jake. Okay, Jake. What department are you in? Okay. Is your manager there? He's like, no, but is there a problem? No, I just want to know who I'm speaking with. Call back the next day. Hey, I'm traveling tomorrow with food. Is this going to be a problem? Can I have ice packs? And I get to the airport. I'm with my dad. I'm like, Dad, if they take my food, Channel 3 News is going to be here. I'm going to lose my shit. I go, and Jake is going to lose his job.
Maybe his life.
Yeah, right. But it's like I call the airport, like the hotel again, make sure the reservations are checked. Because I've had people be like, "Oh, I made reservations to the wrong hotel," and I'm like, "Well, what are you going to do?" They're like, "I have to stay 30 minutes away from the venue." I'm like, well, that's a problem.
Yeah. Now you eat it and you get another hotel. You get the one closer.
Dude, you just double, triple check everything. It's too much preparation work to make a small error like that.
Especially that late in the game. You've done everything right. Why mess it up when you're that close to the goal line? Keep it simple. Follow your plan. Communicate with your coach. You're going to have a good prep.
Yeah. And then if you don't like something after the fact, like, hey, didn't like 4 weeks out was this, we can learn from this. And if you guys have a different opinion, then go a different direction.
Yeah, definitely. Kyle, anything else to add?
There's one more. We forgot a really important one. I'm disappointed in you, gentlemen. Posing.
Oh,
Oh, Jesus.
It seems easy because you would think we would pose, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, obviously, I've had so many guys that are in great shape, and then whether it's an endurance thing or, there's a difference when you're posing post workout, when you have a lot of food and water, pose first thing in the morning. There's a true difference when you're going on stage under the lights and you start to get nervous potentially, right? So that's where you start to see, like, damn, that dude practiced, or that he's not presenting his physique. Like, he looks fucking awesome in the 3 shots he continues to post. And then you realize the other 4 shots in his division don't look so hot. And now he's going to lose even though he's better,
Yeah.
Transition. So sometimes, that's why I always ask for videos. I'm sure you guys do too. Because pictures are just a moment in time, a snapshot. You don't know if the person's like huffing and puffing in between the pictures and stuff, right? Yeah. So I think transitioning, and again, this is all beginners. Got to be perfect at posing. I encourage you to practice, but to be a national level guy, to win your pro card, and then to be a pro, how many times do we see guys, they just pose rounds and rounds until one person falls off? It's not because he wasn't better, it's just because he didn't last and the judges didn't know who to go with, but now he just made the decision relatively easy.
Yeah.
I have guys start posing. I put right into plan 16 weeks out, twice a week, 3 rounds of posing, holding each pose for 6 to 7 seconds, transitioning as if you're in front of one of the judges. No stopping and look at the phone to see the picture in between shots, because you build that conditioning up, right? So we do that, and then it moves to 3 times a week at 10 weeks out, and then it just goes up from there. Usually by 4 weeks out, you should be able to pose every day for 4 rounds after your training like it's nothing,
Yeah.
Because that's another thing. Yeah, like you could have the best physique, you could have done everything right your prep, but if you show up, like, you can only go one or two rounds, and the judges want to see 3, and you fall apart, you just might have gone from first to third. You know?
No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. And I mean, I'll admit, I've been somewhat of a stickler on posing in the past, but now I've been very, very hard on all my guys. Very hard. Where I just say, this is simply unacceptable. Mm-hmm. This needs to be fixed immediately. I don't want to see this pose wrong one more time. I'm going to lose my shit.
Well, isn't it kind of like an attitude of like, well, dude, if I've commented on this 3 times in a row and I've made notes, pictures, and I've put you in touch with a posing coach, and you haven't done that, to me, I'm like, I say this, I assume you just don't care and you're okay losing that shot and potentially your show or your placing because of that, and I won't say anything else about it. I leave it at that, and usually that gets the job done.
So Travis, Travis, my client doing the heavyweight. I've been meeting him every Sunday, and I make him pose for 3 rounds of 5 minutes straight, and it's 5 continuous minutes, and I'm like pretending to be like Steve. I'm just like front double bicep, front relaxed, rear double bicep, and I just like make a long ass pause as he's holding it forever.
But it helps,
tricep, have it hold side tricep forever, which is so hard to hold.
Yeah.
And then, but Travis goes through the whole entire thing and doesn't breathe heavy once and doesn't sweat. I'm like, okay, now we're good.
Yep.
Because the likelihood of you posing 5 continuous minutes without one single break is almost probably 0.
I've only done it once, where Tyler had us go 6 rounds at the Universe in 2021 or 20, I can't remember. And my Terry's, I didn't even know if I was holding my arms up anymore. But and I had practiced my ass off that year too. And me and the other guy, it was me and this other guy in the middle, and we were both looking at each other like, another round? Okay. It was fucking wild, dude, to go that many rounds. I'd never been in a bodybuilding moment like that,
I love when the judge goes, how you guys doing? You guys ready for another round? And every upstage is like, in their head, they're like, fuck no. And then in their head, they're like, yeah, we're good. And
they got to do one of these.
Nobody wants to say no. No, fuck.
No, I'm not,
we're walking on. Yeah.
It's like I gave my best stuff in the 3rd round, and anything from here on out is going to be less than. So no, I don't want to go again, but okay,
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for bringing that up, Kyle. That's a good one. We did forget about that.
That was a really good one.
No, I bring it from personal experiences. When I first was competing, I don't know, I didn't prioritize it. I thought it would be easy, and then I was like 2 weeks out, and I remember I was working with Phil, and he had me come by his place, and I was almost embarrassed of how shitty I was at posing, to where we couldn't even get a consistent video. And then I realized if I had started this many moons ago, it would have been so much easier. I'm fucking tired. I don't want to pose. I just want to eat. I'm starving. Yeah. So that's why I always tell people hey, start way out, because it's going to help you immensely, not just from a conditioning standpoint, but when you're tired toward the end, you guys know how it is. You don't want to. The basic tasks feel so strenuous and tough. And if you have to pose, that shit's annoying. And if you have to correct posing, it's like, Chris, I'm fucking doing what you told me. Shut up, you know?
Yeah.
I will say this, I would say 10 years ago, posing wasn't as big of a deal, right? I feel like judges might let some shit slide a little bit, especially at the amateur level. And I feel like everyone has gotten so much better at posing. I mean, look at it this way. There was one posing coach that I knew of in 2013, 14, Kenny Wallach. Now it's like there's 20 posing coaches out there. They just had that bodybuilding page just had a posing coach award, for male and female posing coaches. And it just shows you how big posing has become. You better hit your shots correctly because someone else probably will, But with that said, I think we come to the end. Guys, leave a comment in the comment section. Let us know if we forgot anything. Let us know maybe some stories you have of some prep mistakes that you've made. Maybe you've blown a prep over the last minute. We won't shit on you too bad. But Chris, thanks for joining us today, man.
Oh, one last one. Running out of gear in the middle of prep.
Dude. Chris.
On that note.
On that note, because we both had the same client, and I'll tell you afterwards. And we didn't do this with you. He became a much more experienced. I had him for his first time out, and 3 weeks out, he's like, "Hey, coach, I ran out of my gear, and I'm ready to jump on my PCT. What do I need for that now?" And I'm like, "Dude, you're doing the show in 3 weeks still, right?" I'm like, one of those things where I would say that's also my fault because it's like maybe I should have told him. You run your cycle through the end of prep. You don't just stop because it's 12 weeks that you've been on.
But that's one of those
You guys
things.
calculate for your clients?
It's so common sense.
Calculate?
Oh, like 30 mLs, you need 30
Yeah,
mLs.
hey, coach, how many of this should I order?
No. I say this is high school math. You can figure out how much we're going to need based off this template of what I think you were going to need, and always get an extra bottle of everything.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah, it's similar. Yeah, it's a similar situation. What I don't like is they tell you once it's out. I'm like, well, you knew you're running out a week ago. We could have lowered the dose on it and extended it another 10 days to make it to the show.
When you saw you only had this much left, you could have put an order in with your guy and had it here yesterday.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, Chris, thanks for joining. We're
No
Unwracked.
problem.